Swiss-American psychiatrist Elisabeth Kubler-Ross was the first individual to transfigure the way that the world looks at the terminally ill. She pioneered hospice care, palliative care, and near-death research, and was the first to bring the lives of terminally ill individuals to the public eye. In her best-selling, award-winning 1969 book, On Death and Dying, she introduced the 5 stages of grief, for which she became famous. I am not famous, nor will I ever be. However, I am interested in how we respond to near-term human extinction. My interests begin with how we respond as individuals to the idea of our own deaths as part of the phenomenon of extinction of Homo sapiens. As such, my interests overlap with those of Kubler-Ross. My interests extend beyond those of the famed psychiatrist to how we respond as individuals within communities and a global society. However, I frequently discuss the notion of our individual response, focusing on ideas and actions such as integrity and providing care for ourselves and others. A few years ago, I wrote about the idea of a 6th stage of the Kubler-Ross model, which I called Gallows humor. Specifically, I introduced the idea of stage 6 in late 2014 with a blog post at Nature Bites Last. That blog post was a casualty of one of the many attacks on my blog, so it can no longer be found. However, the blog post coinciding with the release of this video includes links to the 7th stage, a short documentary film about the 7th stage, and also the latest science update produced for this space. The 7th stage is fork it, and I'm using fork instead of a word that rhymes with truck to meet YouTube's standards. The latest science update, which was released last Thursday, refers to the transition from snowfall to rainfall in the Arctic region as planetary overheating continues to produce consequences considered surprisingly rapid to other scientists. Let's take a quick look at the so-called surprising transition from snow to rain in the Arctic. As we have long known, a warmer Earth is a wetter Earth. This result is based on the idea that evaporation proceeds faster on an overheated planet than on a cool planet, and of course what goes up must come down. Evaporated water from the Earth's surface becomes precipitation after being briefly stored in the atmosphere. In the Arctic region, the precipitation typically came down as snow during the last several tens of thousands of years. However, warming the planetary atmosphere has caused much of this precipitation to come down as rain instead of snow. Surprisingly to other scientists who seem to be unfamiliar with relevant peer-reviewed literature, this transition is occurring rather abruptly. Professor Wisław Masłowski and colleagues projected an ice-free Arctic Ocean in the 2012 issue of Annual Review of Earth and Planetary Sciences. The annual review series is among the most renowned of peer-reviewed journals, containing reviews of relevant literature and published once yearly. The paper by Masłowski and colleagues was titled The Future of Arctic Sea Ice. Based on a linear model, the paper projected an ice-free Arctic Ocean in 2016, plus or minus 3 years. Masłowski and colleagues have continued to improve on their modeling approach and now use a sophisticated approach that predicts rather than projects. This model can be used only 6 months in advance, indicating that results for September, the time of year that typically has the lowest ice extent in the Arctic, can be reliably predicted in March of each year. Fortunately for all of us, the projection of Masłowski and colleagues in their 2012 publication was incorrect. Unfortunately for all of us, the last peer-reviewed paper on which last week's science update was founded did not include reference to the pioneering paper by Masłowski and colleagues. I have no idea how I can keep up with relevant literature better than scientists paid to do so, although it happens frequently. The rapid rate of change in the wake of an ice-free Arctic Ocean bodes poorly for the continuation of habitat for our species, and others, on Earth. Because we have never experienced an ice-free Arctic Ocean in the history of civilizations on Earth, and therefore within the temporal frame of the aerosol masking effect, we have no direct references for this near-term event. However, we know that Earth is warmer than at any time within the history of civilization, and we also know additional heating will occur rapidly in the wake of an ice-free Arctic Ocean due to loss of albedo, release of even more subsea methane, loss of aerosol masking as industrial civilization declines, and other factors that contribute to planetary warming. How near-term is an ice-free Arctic Ocean? Harvard University professor James Anderson the Harvard atmospheric scientist famous for discovering the link between chlorofluorocarbons and the Antarctic ozone hole, was quoted in Forbes on January 15, 2018, quote, "The chance there will be permanent ice in the Arctic after 2022 is essentially zero," end quote. In other words, back in early 2018, Anderson expected an ice-free Arctic in 2023, with full impacts to occur the following year. Nearly 3.5 years later, Professor Jennifer McKinnon of the University of California, San Diego, and the Scripps Institution said during an interview with CBS News on April 23, 2021, that she expects an ice-free Arctic Ocean in 2022, although she also indicated it could occur in 2023, consistent with Anderson's previous statement. The best-case scenario from these informed scientists is an ice-free Arctic Ocean in 2023, with a rapid rate of environmental change leading to loss of habitat for humans to occur in 2024. I'm not a fan, obviously. I'm merely presenting the work of others, as has been my situation for several years. After all, I voluntarily left behind the enormous privileges associated with a full professor position at a major university in mid-2009. I continue to present the work of others as a means of continuing my efforts to teach others what I have learned. Consistent with the work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, I have offered planetary hospice as a positive way forward. If you put the phrase planetary hospice into the search box at guymcpherson.com, you'll see my early work on this topic. The approach I have taken is consistent with Kubler-Ross's pioneering work in hospice care and palliative care. In addition, planetary hospice is one of the foundations on which the Only Love Remains workshop was created. This workshop has been offered by partner Pauline and I since January 2014. For more details, please study the website at onlyloveremains.org. To the very limited extent we have free will, we can respond to our dire collective situation in a variety of ways. We can blame and shame, the standard approaches. As nearly as I can tell, these approaches serve only to make us feel better in the very short term. We can take actions to improve the lives of people around us, a noble approach often called serving others. In pursuing this approach, we can keep in mind the words of Viktor Frankl in his amazing 1946 book, Man's Search for Meaning. This book was written shortly after Frankl was a prisoner of war in Nazi Germany during World War II, and the lines I've chosen for this video, which I've said many times in this space, are these, quote, "Between a stimulus and a response is a space. In that space is the power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. The last of human freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any set of circumstances." End quote. I rarely blame or shame other people for the dire straits in which we find ourselves. After all, we were all born into this set of living arrangements through no fault of our own. What can we do? We can apply Gallows humor to our near-term demise, along with the abrupt after effect of the extinction of all life on Earth via a rapid rate of environmental change and also the uncontrolled meltdown of the world's nuclear facilities. I have described both phenomena earlier in this space. Obviously, extinction is no laughing matter, and yet we frequently laugh at the lines from actors during action-adventure movies that have the heroes on the verge of death. Crying in the face of our own deaths offers the advantage of emotional release, as with laughing. Laughing in the face of our deaths also offers emotional release and demonstrates courage. What about stage 7, fork it? Contrary to the initial thought of most people, fork it does not mean giving up. It sometimes refers to giving in to the situation. Mostly, though, it refers to not doing what you don't want to do and what is not helpful. Contrary to the commercial slogan, "Just do it," I sometimes propose "Just stop it." Another way to say this, don't just do something, sit there. If your actions are helping neither you nor others, I suggest you think about why you continue pursuing those actions. If you are wasting your time, hurting yourself, or hurting other people, just stop it. Meeting the expectations of others is the favorite trick of most people embedded within this set of living arrangements. Sometimes meeting those expectations is analogous to using them as bars to build a cage around ourselves. Just don't do it. Rather, just stop it. Take care of yourself. As the flight attendants say, put on your own mask first. Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Click the bell when you subscribe so you'll be notified about future videos. Become a member of this channel for additional perks at as little as 99 cents per month. Mostly, though, thanks for watching.